All right, let's go ahead and get it started, man. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode 174, we're going to be discussing the life you choose or the path that society decides for you, right? Now, this is going to be similar to the podcast that I recently had did on the last podcast of the year for 2023. So, it's the first podcast for this year. I'm looking forward to it, man, and I cannot wait to see what this year has in store for me, for sure, in store for us, to be honest with you. A few things I want to say before I go to get it started, man. Make sure you go and follow me on Rumble, TikTok, as well as on Twitch, at Life of a Champ Podcast, and all those. Also, if you're not watching on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to me on YouTube, just Life of a Champ on there as well. A few things I want to say before I go to get it started. Make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube Shorts as well as my YouTube clips. I'll be posting more TikToks, and I just recently posted a 10-minute clip of a podcast that I had recently did. So it's happened with that for sure. So obviously there's a new look, man. I got a new chain on, man. Got a new haircut, man, and it's the same old game, man. Same old game, man. You know, I'm trying to make y'all better, trying to make myself better, and that is the goal, man. That is the goal. KJ, appreciate you for tapping in as usual. So, like I said, this is going to be somewhat of a part two to the podcast that I had made recently, which was a few days ago. I know it was like I think 5 or 6 days ago. So if you haven't watched that one, I would definitely recommend for you to go ahead and watch that one. Obviously, if you're watching this live, watch it now, and then go back and watch the other one if you haven't already watched it. But essentially, I feel like there was a lot of things that I didn't exactly get to cover. Or I didn't think of, and I wanted to expand on my idea. And I feel like a lot of people could really a lot of people could a lot of people need this paradigm right now, especially with the way that things are going within society. And like I said, I'm looking forward to making this one. So if you are in the chat, whether you're watching this or watching this live, let me know in the comments for sure. So I'm gonna reiterate some of the things that I've mentioned on the podcast that I did most recently, right? So the first thing I want to start with is this. There's going to be two questions that you must ask yourself coming into this year. Obviously, this is a new year, right? You must approach this year with a different approach that you've approached any other year from, right? Or any other year by, right? And the questions you must ask yourself, and I'm going to give you the context, of course, because obviously, if you're missing the context and haven't watched the first one, it's not going to make as much sense. So, what games are worth playing? So, essentially, what games are things that you can do, actions you can take, identities you can uphold, essentially things that you can do, pretty much, right? But what games are worth playing? That's something that I don't see enough people. I don't. That's something I don't see enough people taking the time to analyze enough. Because if you look at the decisions that they make within their life, it doesn't look like they're making the best decisions. So they don't understand. They don't take it with enough seriousness of what's actually worth doing in this life. So therefore they choose things that are convenient. They choose things that are comfortable. And obviously, you know the result of that, right? I don't even have to say it, right? The second question you must ask yourself is this: what games do you want to play? Those are two different questions, of course. Obviously, they're very, very similar, but they don't always exactly line up, right? There's going to be certain people that know what games are worth playing or think that they know what games are worth playing, but yet their actions would suggest that they're playing a different game. So, therefore, like I said, those are going to be two questions that you must ask yourself, right? So, when evaluating this game of life, right? When evaluating the people that you admire, that should hopefully align you to figure out what games are actually worth your time, right? And with that being said, from there you can evaluate what games that you actually want to play, right? So I want to say this right here. If you don't answer these two questions, you have only one path to go down. If you do not decide to take this game of life serious, you'll be playing someone else's game. And if you want to play someone else's game, that's completely fine, right? But you must understand, and obviously, of course, whose game are you really playing, right? Maybe you're working at a job right now, or maybe you're working for your friend, right? There's gonna be two different things, right? Or maybe you're working towards something that you actually give a shit about, right? But nonetheless, if you don't answer these things with great clarity, right? With great structure, with enough seriousness, then you'll be playing somebody else's game for your whole life. And like I said, for me personally, that's not a life that I want to live. That's not a life that I would want a loved one of mine to live personally. And with that being said, you must choose what games that you want to play for yourself, or else people around you that might not have the best intentions in mind for you, and society, which obviously does not have the best intentions in mind for you, will tell you what games that you can play, right? You must understand that there's and here's the thing, I don't even necessarily need to get into a great detail about this, but there is a path that society is suggesting for you to go ahead and down, right? It's the education system initially, right? Put your kids into the education system, and obviously that's a bunch of programming that I don't believe is 1,000% necessary as opposed to other information, right? And then obviously from there, what does everybody push on you? Hey, go to college. That's what everybody pushes on you. Oh, if you want to have a good career, you have to go to college, right? You've heard that before, right? Essentially, that is what I would define to be society's game. You can play that game if you would like, but I don't believe that I've seen enough people who have played that game and who has also shown me that they are living a fulfilling life, in my opinion, personally, right? And I'm sure there are some exist, and maybe you know some of those people that do exist, where they chose to play society's game and they're fulfilled with their life, right? Now, I'm not one of those people, so therefore I'm not going to suggest for you to go ahead and take that path, because, like I said, it's societally constructed, right? And I don't believe society has the best interest in mind for you and best intentions in mind for you. So, like I said, you need to evaluate that for yourself. Maybe what I'm saying is bullshit. Evaluate it for yourself, though, right? Regardless, you will either pursue a path or a dream of your own, or you will be a part of someone else's dream or path. And like I said, that's not the second, which was you will be a part of someone else's dream or path. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because obviously you have to recognize the person that you'd be doing it for. But for the most part, 98% of people that have chosen a path that isn't their own path, like I said, are pursuing somebody else's dream, right? And like I said, obviously you have to analyze your position. You could be working for somebody that you like, or you could be working for a company that doesn't even really care about you, that you don't really care about. You're doing work that's meaningless, right? And I feel like that's what I really need to emphasize here is, do you want to be spending the limited human time that you have within this life doing something that has no meaning to you? You have no interest in what you're doing, but you're doing it for monetary gain, right? That's a path that most people go down. And of course, there's some circumstances in life that come up where you might have to play society's game, right? Or maybe the best, and I would never say this, but maybe for you, this going down society's path is the best move on the chessboard. I don't believe that necessarily, but maybe you believe that for yourself. But like I said, I want to emphasize this. I want to reemphasize this, right? You have a very limited amount of human time in this game of life, right? If you do not spend it wisely, like the 90% of people, then you'll be living a less than desirable life, right? And with the internet and with all the possibilities that do exist, the last thing you want to do is settle for something when you could have achieved something greater than that, right? So that is what I really want to emphasize for today's episode. I appreciate you for stopping by. If you're in here, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, make sure to leave in the comments so I can go ahead and respond to you guys. Like I said, if you're watching this, if there's something that I've said that you've liked, make sure you go ahead and leave in the comments for sure. But I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question because I feel like it'll hopefully put you in a position to self-analyze yourself, right? Hold on, let me respond to the comments quick. Haven't seen you since last year. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Funny, Jaden, you're funny. To think that a fulfilling life is spending most of your day, every single day, working for the rest of your life is absolutely crazy. And Jaden, you're exactly 1,000% right with that, right? And like I said, more importantly, doing meaningless work that you don't care about, but yet you do because you need a paycheck, right? That's if that's your long-term decision for you to go ahead and do that, you're done. When times get hard, it's going to be really hard for you. That's what it comes down to. At the very least, if you're pursuing your own path, right? If you're making the decisions and you're playing the games that you want to go ahead and play, when struggle arrives, which inevitably will arrive, right? At least you know it's worth it. Because if you're doing something that if you're playing somebody else's game, if you're living somebody else's dream and you truly do not care about it, it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. And like I said, some life circumstances would suggest that you might need to play society's game, but at the very least, you need to be doing anything and everything out in your power that's going to get you out of that game, or you're forever trapped, right? Like I said, a lot of people's self circumstances, it would seem like that is the most convenient answer. Maybe having children early, like I said, maybe going into college, maybe you have some pressures from your family and things like that. And like I said, I understand all of those, but like I said, I didn't grow up with that, thankfully, right? Um, but that's pretty much what I have to say, man. So, are you playing a game you could care less for, or care less about, or are you playing your game? If you're not playing your game, and the reason why, and let me mention this, someone mentioned this as well, right? The reason why most people never play their game is because they never know what fucking game they want to play. That's the problem. Which goes back to the questions that I've asked you before, right? Figure out what games are worth playing and figure out what games you want to play. Because if not, somebody's gonna tell you, do this game. Oh, this looks like a cool game. Go ahead and do it, right? And I'm not telling you a specific game that you need to go ahead and play. I'm just trying to open your eyes to say there's unlimited possibilities within this life, right? You need to act as such because if you don't, you're going to be living like everybody else. And if you want to live like everybody else, that's completely fine. It's an easy life. It's very, very simple. You know, it's very, very comfortable. Or you could be, or you could achieve something that you never thought you could achieve, right? And I would love to choose the latter, right? So one question I want to ask you is, based on your actions that you've taken in life so far, whose game are you playing? And most people that would answer this would probably say, I'm not playing my game. So you must ask yourself the question, why aren't you playing your game? Why are you not spending more time trying to play the games that you want to go ahead and play? Why are you settling to play somebody else's game? That's what it is, man. That's what it is, man. Like I said, I see it all too often. People never carve out a path for themselves, but you must carve a path out for yourself. Because like I said, if you do not do that, society will say, "Hey, look at this very very convenient path that's very very comfortable, that's very very easy that everybody else, hey, look, everybody else is doing it. Go ahead and be the millionth person this year to make that same decision and do that same thing and take that same path." And if what you fail to realize is if you don't construct your path, the path is already constructed for you. And what's the fun in that? What's truly the fun in that when you already have your entire life planned out? It's practical. It's like I said, it's convenient. It's comfortable, and that's cool for some. You know, like I said, the people that actually do something great within this life. We need people like that, right? So if you're one of those people, we need people like you. And if you're not like one of those people, then you need to act as such. Because if you're not acting as such and you're just talking about it and you're not doing anything, you're not applying any action, you're not taking steps in the direction that would lead you towards the games that you want to go ahead and play. Like I said, if you want to be like everybody else, man, go ahead and be like everybody else, man. I'm not. This podcast is not meant for everybody else. So if you want to play society's path, man, you can just click off the podcast, man. Click off the podcast, man. This is only for people who want to achieve something great. This is only for people who want to play their own game. People who actually want to take control of their life and make it better than what it is right now. This is what this podcast is about. Like I said, if you're a person that gets turned off by that, that's completely fine, man. That's completely fine. We need the peasants of society. We need the people that are at the bottom. We need the people who are playing life on autopilot. We need those people. We need those people. But like I said, if you want to be like I said, if you want to choose a different path for yourself, you must start asking yourself more questions. What games do you want to play? What games are worth playing? What games do I see other people playing that seem like they're having a good time? That maybe you would like to partake in that good time with them, right? Carve out a path for yourself, or you'll go down the same carved path that everybody else went towards. Like I said, that's not a fulfilling life, man. And like I said, man, I want to reiterate this as well. Struggles of life are inevitably going to come. It's not if, it's when. So when it happens, at least make it fucking worth it. Because if it's not worth it, then you're wasting your time. You're wasting, like I said, you have one life, man. You have one life. You have limited human time. And if you're expending that limited human time that you have on something that you truly do not give a shit about, you lost. You lost in life. And you will continue to lose until you decide to change that. And until you decide to break that habit, until you decide to break that cycle, you're just going to be living like everybody else. And like I said, observe everybody else. Are they the most happy that they could ever be? Are they the most fulfilled that they could ever be? Do they have the life that you want? And the answers for most of those is no. That's just what it is. That's just me being real. Most of it's no. Most of those questions that I asked, the answer is no. You must figure out you must figure it out, or you will live a life that will feel less and less like yours. That's what it comes down to, man. See, the reason why I've made the decisions in my life that I have made, that have led me to this podcast that I'm doing right now, is all because I've asked myself the questions that I needed to ask myself. The questions that I believe that everybody should ask themselves to get the most out of life that they possibly can live, right? The refusal to ask questions and the to be seeking out comfort and only convenience and only practicality. Like I said, that's good for the average people. But this podcast is not meant for the average person. That's what it comes down to, man. The problem is that people think that they do have a lot of time. You don't, man. When you break it down, man, you don't have that much time. You don't have that much time. You must act with urgency. There's not enough people that are acting with urgency. You could die tomorrow. If you spent your entire day doing something, working for somebody else, pursuing somebody's dream that isn't yours, that you could give a shit less about, then you wasted your life. See, let's just say for example, right after this podcast, let's just say, like, God forbid I die, right? But at least I died doing shit that I actually gave a fuck about. You see what I'm saying? I lived a fulfilled life. I lived a life that I was not only happy, but more importantly fulfilled, because I was putting in work for myself. See what I'm saying? See, not a lot of people could say that if they died today, if they died within this moment, that their life was actually worth it. That day was actually worth it. Do you see what I'm saying? So if your life decisions don't exactly, like I said, if they're already pre-constructed for you, you wake up, you get ready for your day, you go to work, you come home, and then when you have your free time, you use it fucking around, doing mindless activities that doesn't contribute to the life that you want to live, right? That aren't asking yourself what games that you want to go ahead and play, or what games are actually worth playing. The second that like, this is for most people, right? The second that they actually get some time to themselves, they don't use it wisely. You spend 8 hours working for somebody else, you come home just to fuck around. Just to wake up tomorrow morning and do the same shit again. How the fuck are you ever going to expect to make progress like that? You're not. You're never going to make progress like that. So that's what I'm saying, man. You need to figure these things out, man, because if you don't have them figured out, you're fucked. You're fucked. And if you never take the time to ask yourself the questions that are the most important questions that you must ask yourself within this life, good luck, man. That's all I have to say. But remember, they're missing the pod. And another resource to first make them aware, and they create the urgency needed to actually choose their life. You're exactly right, man. Like I said, that's why I'm out here putting in the work, man. He's on point, man. He's on point with that one, man. But yeah, ask yourself this question, right? If you decide to neglect that, if you decide to neglect asking yourself these questions, just observe it. Just observe it from afar. What is that life going to look like? How is it going to play out? Because quite frankly, it's predictable. You can't say it's not predictable. Of course, and here's the thing. It's predictable in the worst ways. In the worst ways possible. Because here's the thing. Not only is it already pre-constructed, but life's already going to come at you with things that are going to make life even harder. You see what I'm saying? You must be ready for those hard times. And like I said, the only thing that makes those times worth it is if you're living the life that you want to live. Right? And you might say, "Oh, I'm living the life I want to live." But you're not building anything. You're not doing anything. You're literally not doing anything. You might like I said, you might be working for somebody, but if you're not working for yourself, if you're not pursuing something that is gonna make yourself better, you're wasting your time. And like I said, we do need those people in this society, but we also need much more people who are wanting to take more risk, who are wanting more out of life, because they understand that there's other people in life that have the things that you want. Why can't you have those things for yourself? Why can't you make the same decisions that they made that led them to the same result that you want? You see what I'm saying, man? You see what I'm saying? And like I said, man, when you observe that potential life that you could be living from afar, that pre-constructed path for you is is that essentially that essentially is society's best interest, right? Or society, that's what society wants you to do. But like I had asked you in the beginning of this podcast, does society truly have the best interest in mind for you? And of course, that answer is always going to be no. Always going to be no. So like I said, man, whose game are you playing, man? Are you playing your own game or are you playing somebody else's game? Are you living your dream or are you living somebody else's dream? If you, are you taking steps every single day that are going to contribute to the life that you want to live, or are you just living somebody else's dream? Or are you just taking steps necessary in order to be comfortable, in order to be satisfactory with your day, when in reality you really shouldn't be satisfied with your day because you didn't do anything for yourself outside of working. And what people fail to realize is working, whether you're working for yourself or working for somebody else, that's the bare minimum. You should not be proud of that. Like I said, unless you're working for yourself, of course. But realistically, that's still the bare minimum. You need to be striving for more than just that. Because like I said, if you're not, then your life's already drawn up. Then there's the only unpredictability that does exist within that life is just badness. It's just yeah, it's just badness. That's what it is. If you do not make decisions for your life, society and people will make them for you. And like I had mentioned before, that life is an easy life. But is that the life that you'd want? Is that the life that you'd want to live if you only had one life? Society has a funnel for everyone to go, and the ones who defy that, you must observe their behaviors. You must observe the actions that they've taken. You must observe the questions that they've asked themselves that voided them from taking the path of society's funnel. And obviously you analyze them, right? They lack the knowledge, they lack the clarity on what they want to do. And like I said, that's going to exactly lead you down society's funnel, where dreams go to die. Most people that you will see on a day-to-day basis, they're not living. They're living like a shell of themselves. They have no passion. They're not pursuing anything of meaning. Yeah, they're like I said, they're basically on autopilot, man. They're literally zombies, man. I see this within my day-to-day life all the time, where I'm looking at somebody and it looks like they've wasted their life. I can see it within your face that it looks like you've wasted your life. It looks like you wake up every single day doing something that you don't want to do for a paycheck, and that's it. You go home, you fuck around, you never try to plan yourself out, you never try to make a plan for yourself. So therefore you're stuck in the same position. And then you're pissed off. You're pissed off when things happen that are inconvenient to your life, or maybe you get pissed off at what's going on at work, but you didn't do anything to change that. You never corrected course. You settled for that. And that's the life that you chose. No, that's not even the life that you chose. That's the life that society chose for you. Do you want society to choose for you, or do you want to choose for yourself? Are you man enough to choose for yourself? Or are you okay with just going with the flow and letting society say, "Oh yeah, this sounds like a good path for you. Go ahead. Go ahead and be a worker for the next 60 years, or the next 40 years, or the next 50 years." Do you want to live that life? Do you want to live that life? Ask yourself the question. Like I said, in the land of opportunity, in the land of unlimited opportunity with the internet, and you're still taking a path that you could have made 30 years ago without the internet. You see what I'm saying? Take a different path. There's so many possibilities. There's so many opportunities that are out there. They're not being seized upon. There's people that are less smarter than you who have figured something out that you haven't figured out, who somehow, some way was able to ask themselves the questions that you have yet to ask yourself. Of course, there are some careers that can give a person a fulfilling life. Of course, yeah, Jaden. Let me go ahead and go on that, right? That is true. Her point is true. There is some careers that do exist. Maybe if you're a doctor or something like that, or actually, like I said, changing people's lives. If you can somehow do that within your life, within the career that you've chosen, then maybe you're living a good life. If that's what you truly want to do. If you wake up excited to go to work, to go put in the next 10 hours, that's fine. Like I said, we need those people. We still need those people, man. We still need those people. But for the 98% of people who go to their job and hate it every single moment and wish they did something different and wish they could have taken a different path and wish they could be doing a different job, maybe doing something that they actually want to do you want to be like that person? There's so many of those people. Like I said, I see them on a day-to-day basis all the time, man, all the time. And the difference between me and them is I've actually created a path for myself. I've created my own funnel for myself. I've created my own path. I wake up and I work on the things that I give a fuck before I go and work for somebody else. That's the difference. If you're not putting in work for yourself, then who are you putting it in for? Do you care about that person? But yet your actions would suggest that you do care about that person because you're spending most of your day, a third of your day, dedicated to them, to pursuing their dreams, to pursuing the path that they want to go ahead and pursue. But yet you're not building anything. You're not doing anything of meaning. And the last thing I want anyone to do is to live a meaningless life. That's the last thing. That's the last thing I want. And I believe that more than ever we could be living more meaningful lives. But that's only if you take some action. Because if you never take any action, then your life's going to look like you've never took any action. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say for today's episode. I'm going to go ahead and reiterate the things that I've mentioned on today's episode. If you guys have liked anything that I said on today's episode, let me know in the comments for sure. But, yeah, leave it in the comments right now. If you're watching live, at the very least, say what's good, man. All right, man, let's see what he says. Hello, sorry for bothering you. I want you to, I don't give a man. I don't give a damn about that, man. I don't need your help, man. Appreciate it, though. He's trying to pitch me something, man. Ain't no way, man. Come on. More dedicated to a person's, man, exactly. More dedicated to a person that'll replace them the next day. Exactly. Your actions suggest that you are fully dedicated to something that would replace you instantly if you had left. That doesn't give a fuck about you at all. Right? Jaden's exactly right with that. Jaden's exactly on point with that. And yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to, man. If your actions are suggesting, like I said, be real with it. Obviously you need a paycheck, right? Obviously you might need to do this for a limited amount of time, right? But at the same time, if the outside of that, there needs to be something that is done for yourself. You need to be doing something for yourself outside of just working to get a paycheck. Obviously, like I said, that's gonna be a necessity. That's gonna be a necessity. But you still need to take something with more seriousness outside of that. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And it's so sad because there's people that almost perceive life as if there's no other option. They have no lust for life. They're, like I said, they're nothing more than just a shell of themselves. They're repeating the same tasks that they've done for the last 20 years because it's nice, because it gives them a paycheck. I mean, that's it. Do you want to be like that, man? With, like I said, with the amount of opportunities that you have, do you really want to live like that? Come on, man. Come on, man. So like I said, I'm going to reiterate the things that I've mentioned. This is basically a part 2 of the podcast that I had made previously. If you have not watched that podcast, it's the most recent podcast that I made outside of this one. It was the games within the game, right? The 2 questions that I had asked, which I had prefaced this podcast with, is what games are worth playing and what games do you want to play? Those are like I said, 2 separate questions. You must analyze by, like I said, placing value on what you deem to be valuable, of course, right? So what games are actually worth playing when you analyze people's results in life that are close to what you want for your life, right? What games did they decide to go ahead and play that you feel was worth it for them, right? Then you can analyze that for yourself, okay? within my position right now, I could make this decision, I could do this, I can create this habit, I could alter my personality this way, and I'd be playing a more I'd be playing a game that is worth it, right? Or I could be playing games that are worth it, right? And then obviously that goes hand in hand with the second question. Obviously, what games do you want to go ahead and play, right? But what you fail to realize is this, because those aren't exactly the same thing like I had mentioned, right? There's plenty of people who recognize that, oh, this game looks like it's worth playing. They say, oh yeah, I want to play this game, but then you look at their actions, and their actions suggest that they want to do something else. They want more comfort, they want more convenience, they want something that is meaningless in this life. That if you died, it wouldn't give a fuck about you. It wouldn't matter, right? If you're wasting your time, you cannot be mad at the result. If you're wasting your time, you cannot be mad at the result that you have. So like I said, if you don't ask yourself those two questions, then you'll be playing within somebody else's game. If you are not choosing which games that you want to go ahead and play for yourself, then people in society will tell you what games that you can play. And if you do not want to live like anyone that you know, then you must take decisions that will suggest the complete opposite of what the people around you are doing. That's the only way, right? That's what I've done. That's what I've observed within life very, very early on, and that's what I've done. I try my best to do almost a damn near opposite of everyone else around me because it's going to give me favorable results. And if you like, hopefully you're fortunate enough where you have somebody in your life that is an actual person that you want to be like, right? And obviously, hopefully that person will help you out, right? But nonetheless, regardless, you'll either pursue a path or a dream of your own, or you'll be a part of somebody else's dream or path. And like I said, it's not always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. It can be, it definitely, it's not always a bad thing. I'll say that, right? Because like I said, you could be pursuing, you could be helping somebody that you actually care about, and that would be worth your time. Or you could be building something with somebody that you actually give a shit about, and that would be worth your time. But if, like I said, the 98% of people who are just clocking in and not giving a shit about their work that they're doing, like I said, do you want to be like that? Are your actions suggesting that you will forever be like that? Think about that. You must think about that seriously. If you had spent the next, think about it this way. Think about it this way, right? If you had spent the next 10 years or even 5 years doing the same thing that you did today, what place would you be at? What position would you be in? Would you be in the same exact spot? Or would there be potential for things to change? If you do not give yourself the opportunity to play games where like your life could change on a daily basis, if you don't play those games, then of course in 5 years you're gonna be in the same position. And if you're not in the position that you want to be in, then you just wasted 5 years. And your actions would suggest that you're going to waste those 5 years. You could say whatever you would like, but if your actions are suggesting another thing, then what you say doesn't even matter. So you must, like I said, based on your actions that you've taken in your life so far, whose game are you playing? Are you playing your game or are you playing somebody else's game? Like I said, are you playing a game you could care less about, or are you playing your game? The games that you want to play, the games that you have analyzed to be worth your time, and things that you actually want to dedicate yourself towards. And like I said, most people in society, just observe them, man. Just observe them, man. They're like I said, they're on autopilot. It's very, very brutal when I go to see it, man. You can see the same person 100 times in one day, the same person, and that's just what it is. Like I said, on autopilot, man. I'm literally on autopilot, just going through the motions, one more day at a time. Wake up the next day, do the same thing over and over and over and over again for the rest of their entire existence until they die, of course. If it's draining you and you're always questioning if it's truly worth it, then you're most likely on the wrong path. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And like I had mentioned earlier, right? The struggles with life will inevitably come, at least make the struggle worth it. Because if the struggle isn't worth it, if you're struggling and you're doing something that you don't want to do, the life fucking sucks. Life literally can't get any worse. If you're doing something you don't want to do and yet you're struggling, life sucks. Do you want to, like I said, do you want to live that for the next 5 years? Okay. Then you must construct your day the way that you want to construct it, not the way that society is convincing you that it needs to be constructed. You have time outside of work. You have your off days, you have the time before work, you have the time after work. Make those days count. Because if you do not make those days count, then they just don't count, man. Like I said, you're essentially enslaving yourself to the same position that you're in right now. Unconsciously, through your own actions. And most people do this, and then they wake up one day and realize they just wasted their entire life doing something that they don't give a damn about. Doing the same thing that they did for the last 20 years. That still at the end of the day doesn't give them any meaning, but yet, oh, I got a paycheck. It's I'm doing it for the money. If you're doing anything just for the money, you failed in life. I don't give a fuck what it is. If you're doing it just for the money, your main purpose is doing it just for the money, you failed. You were not raised correctly. You do not have the right values in life. That's just what comes out. I don't like I said. It doesn't even matter how much money you're making. If you're not willing to embrace the struggle, then you've chosen the wrong path, right? The reason why I enjoy what I do so much is because I know when I'm struggling right now, it's still worth it. Because look at the alternative. The alternative is to not struggle at anything. Because that's just what it comes down to as well. Is like most people, they don't struggle enough. That's the thing. You think that you're struggling. You're not struggling enough. You need to be struggling more. You need to be struggling more. You need to be putting yourself in a position. You need to be putting your daily self in a position where, like I said, over time, the decisions that you make in that day are going to compound and are actually going to be rewarding you. Because if not, it's going to be a repetitive cycle. Like I said, it's the rat race. I'm sure you guys have heard that term before. It's the rat race, right? You get up to go to work, you make money. Eventually, when you make money, you pay for your house and you pay for your food. Maybe you pay for your bills, right? Then you have no money and you go back to work the next day and do the shit over again for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Is that a life worth living? In a world where you can do something outside of that and create your own path, is that worth it? It's not worth it, man. It's just not worth it in my opinion. For some, like I said, some people are just locked in that for life, man. That's just what it comes down to, man. I can even show them this podcast; they're still going to be locked into that, man. That's what it comes down to. But it's not. This podcast is not made for them, man. It's not made for them at all. Exactly. I can guarantee, quote, I'm doing it for the money is just an excuse to make themselves feel less bad because they know they made the wrong choice. Exactly. She's exactly right. You're exactly on point with that. It's a cop out, man. I'm just doing it for the money, man. I'm just doing it for the money. Okay. Well, what the fuck else are you doing? What else are you doing? If you're doing that for the money, okay, what else, or what are you doing for meaning? The most important thing that exists within this life is meaning. Okay? So what are you doing for meaning? Uh 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 you failed. You failed. Simple as that, you failed. Do you want to continue the life of failure? Or do you want to do something greater than that? Ask yourself the question, man. Ask yourself these questions, man. Like I said, I spend a lot of time doing a lot of critical thinking of the life that I want to go ahead and live in. Obviously, I'm in a position where I would definitely say that I'm in a more of a privileged position than a lot of people. I'll say that. But obviously, like I said, my life always comes with its own struggles, just like everybody else's. But at the same time, I still had to do work that no one has seen. I still had to struggle when no one's seen me struggle, right? And like I said, I'm not looking for your empathy or your sympathy, right? I'm not looking for any of that. I'm saying that you need to go through that yourself. I've been through that, and I will continue to go through that, and that's because that is the struggle that I've chosen. But the struggle that I've chosen is actually worth it. Now, is the struggle that you're going through worth it or not? Most people would say, honestly, if you ask most people honestly, they say it's not worth it, man. It's really not worth it. I have to do it. You see what I'm saying? They'll say, I have to do that. I'm locked in. I didn't make the decisions that I should have made earlier on in life, so therefore I'm stuck and I have to do this. If you construct your life properly, you can eventually evolve past that. If you believe you can, if you believe you can and your actions suggest that you can, then you can. But you need more than a belief. Your actions need to be aligned. If your actions aren't aligned, then you're just talking. Most people are most people are not even talking. That's the fucking sad part. Most people are not even talking, and most people that are talking are not even doing. All right. Let me read some of these real quick. It's okay to it's okay to have to work a meaningless job if you know it's temporary because you're already building your escape plan. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. If you're doing that and if you're already currently building something, okay, that's fine. If you don't have a plan for tomorrow, if you don't have a plan for your life, and like I said, actions that would suggest that that plan is actually reasonable, like I said, then what are you doing, right? One thing I want to mention as well is the people who I read this in Mastery, which I'll be doing a podcast once I finish reading the entire book. I'll be doing a podcast on this book. But he was saying when people lack meaning in life, they go to short-term comforts. That's why people go to drugs. That's why people go to video games. That's why people go all these things. They don't have enough meaning in their life. They don't have enough urgency within their life. They don't care enough about their life. They don't care enough about themselves. They don't care enough about the people that they love. So therefore, they choose to spend their time fucking off. That's what it is. That's what it is, man. You could say, "Oh man, I worked really hard today." But if that work is meaningless, then it's for nothing. It's almost for nothing. It's almost for nothing, man. So like I said, man, and of course, all these points I'm talking about are the points that I was at one point in life, right? All these things that I talk about, all these negative ways that I speak about this potential life that I could have lived, I was once in that position as well. I once had to make the decision for myself. I had to see something greater than the position that I was in, right? I had to ask myself the questions: do I want to live this life? If I was doing this for the next 10 years, would I have feel like I've accomplished something? You ask yourself those questions. And like I said, if the more no's you have, the more fucking work you need to put in. The more internal work you need to put in, the more self-analysis that you need to go ahead and have, right? The more time you need to dedicate to yourself, not to somebody else, to yourself. And of course, I make it seem like I'm only working, right? And I make it seem like I have no fun outside of work. But at the same time, I would much rather have fun when fun's actually I would much rather have fun when the work's already put in, as opposed to having fun and then wondering if the work is ever going to be put in. You have to make sacrifices for this life. For the life that you want to live, you must make sacrifices. Not enough people make enough sacrifices. So therefore, they live the life that, like I said, tomorrow they'll wake up, do the same shit over again, give a fuck about the day that they just had, and repeat the shit over again because it gives me money. Okay, like I had mentioned time and time again, and I will continue to mention the people who have this paradigm, and I want you to observe this because this happens so often within society, and I look at them and I internally laugh because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, and it's funny to me. It's just funny to me. The people who are money driven, who are only money driven, who do not seek meaningful work, they're clowns in my opinion. Like I said, regardless of how much money you make, you're still a clown to me. Because money isn't everything, and I have a podcast on this. If you want me to go in detail over the things that are worth more than money, I have plenty of podcasts, and I have one in specific that I did not too long ago. I think it was like episode like 160s or something like that. But yeah, tapping with that for sure. But come on, man. There's more to life than money, so you must act as if there's more to life than money, right? Most people will even agree with me. oh, you know what, champ, you're right. You're right. There is more. There is more to life than money. But if you look at their life, if you analyze their life, and if you sit down with them and say, okay, let's look at your life then. If you agree with what I'm saying, let's sit down and have a discussion about it. Based on your actions that you took on this day or on these days or on this week or this last year that you just had, do you actually agree? Do your actions align to what the fuck you even believe? And if they don't, come on, come on. You need to make changes. You need to make sacrifices. I've sacrificed things that I've enjoyed. I've sacrificed things that I love to do because I knew that I have a higher calling. I needed to do more. I needed to make more sacrifices. And here's the thing. The people that get ahead in life are the ones who are willing to make sacrifices. And if you're not willing to make the sacrifices, then you must be satisfied with a less than fulfilling life. Because at the very least, you'd be right. You wouldn't be contradicting yourself. At the very least, like I said, if you're one of these people who are believing the complete opposite of what I'm saying right now, embrace it. Like I said, embrace that. Like I said, I don't recommend you do that, but I do recommend you do that kind of. Like I said, if you're defying what I say, either be all in or all out. That's what it comes down to. Don't be halfway in, halfway out. Don't be saying these things and not your actions are not aligning. Don't be half in, half out. Either be all the way in or all the way out. That's what it comes down to. If you're in a job you don't like, you either in or like I said, you're either all the way in or all the way out. You're either trying to find an escape plan or you need to make it seem like you are happy with the circumstance that you're in. Because like I said, if not, then you're riding the wave of self-contradictory, and that's like I said, that's not a it's not a good life, man. It's not a good life, man. It's very it's like I said, it's funny to observe on the outside, and it's sad at the same time, man. It's sad at the same time. Yeah, but I want to reiterate that as well. Jaden's point was spot on, right? It's okay to work a meaningless job, but if you know only if you know it's temporary. You must be building your escape plan. That's exactly what it is. Create your escape plan for yourself. The only way you can create it is by knowing what you want and acting as if you know what you want. Not just saying, "Oh, I want this," but yet no actions are aligned with that. Like I said, it's self-contradictory, man, at the end of the day. So I'm going to wrap this podcast up in a minute. I appreciate you for stopping by. I appreciate everybody for watching. If I said anything on today's episode that you have enjoyed, let me know in the comments for sure. All right. I'm going to finish with this point right here, man. This is pretty much the last point, and this is one of my favorite points of the entire podcast. You must figure it out, or you will live a life that feels less and less like yours. That's how I'm gonna wrap it up, man. Figure it out, or you're gonna live a life, and you will continue to live a life that's going to ongoingly feel less and less like yours. And that's it, man. That's what it comes down to, man. Hopefully, I've given you a perspective. Hopefully, at the very least, I've got you thinking, right? If you made it to the end of the podcast, hopefully, I have given you enough thought-provoking material for you to either continue the path that you're going on, or to correct the path that you're going on. Regardless, like I said, at the end of the day, you're going to be going down a path. Just make sure that path is the one that you want to go down. Because if not, chalk up your life, man. Your life's gonna be easy. Your life's gonna be predictable, and it's gonna be meaningless. So, strive for a meaningful life. That's what this podcast is all about, man. Building meaning, expanding on your ideas, and talking about thought-provoking ideas. That's what it comes down to, man. But yeah, I said everything I needed to say for this podcast. This was episode 174 of the Life of a Champ podcast. Speaking about, I forgot the title, man. I forgot the title, man. You know what the hell I'm talking about, man. You know what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say for today's episode. I appreciate you guys stopping by or watching the first episode of this year. within these next 3 days, I'll wrap it up with this. I'll wrap it up with this, right? So the next 3 days, on Sunday, that is going to be the second year of the podcast. So this will be technically the first one of the year, and the one that I'll say is somewhat celebrating 2 years of the podcast. So I appreciate everyone who has been on my journey. Your loyalty will be rewarded graciously. I'll say that. So if you're a fan of mine, if you're a supporter of mine, just know that good things are gonna happen this year. Good things are gonna happen for both of us this year. So, like I said, hopefully you've taken something hopefully you've taken something from this podcast and not just have watched. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for today's episode. Appreciate y'all for stopping by. I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto, man. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure you outwork these motherfuckers, because you know that I am, man. Part of outworking is knowing what work to put in, man. That's what it comes down to. So if you're putting in work that doesn't mean anything, that you don't know why you're putting it in truly, and it doesn't have any meaning, then you're wasting your damn time, man. That's what I have to say for today's episode. Love y'all. Like I said, 2 years of the podcast in 3 days, man. What a ride, man. What a ride. Y'all have a good night. And like I said, next podcast is going to be on next Thursday. So I'll be doing a podcast on Thursdays, and I'll be doing more live streams throughout the week. They're going to be a little bit more unpredictable. So if you do see it, tap in and say it was good. I appreciate it. But y'all have a good night. And like I said, next podcast is going to be on Thursday. So tap in with that. Appreciate y'all.